Welcome back to Thompson's Coins, where today we have an interesting highlight of some very nice proof coins all the way from the Royal Mint. So these are a very interesting and an eclectic mix of coins from the Royal Mint. These are all very impressive proof coins. So for those that are unfamiliar, you have standard uncirculated coins. For example, the Royal Australian Mint, they create the mint set each year. So each of those coins have been struck. Generally, they're just struck once and they're then put into the presentation set. And when you look at them, they look a lot like the coins that you get in your change. They're just unblemished and they're in a presentation set, as it were. Then you have proof coins, which are struck to a much higher standard, and they're generally done specifically for collectors and to showcase the mint's capacity to produce coins to a really high standard. So without further ado, I have 4 very interesting coins here. Actually, 2 of them are sets. Let's begin with the first one. We'll start with silver and the rest are gold, so it gets progressively more exciting but similarly more expensive. So we'll start with the biggest but comparatively most affordable one here. This is a 5-ounce silver proof coin which was struck to celebrate the coronation of King Charles. I tell you what, the packaging that the Royal Mint do on their proof coins, you really can't fault it. It's very, very impressive. So here we have the date. It was the 6th of May 2023. I think the total production on this was 1500, and we have certificate 1496 here. 1469, sorry. Almost the last one. So that is a beautiful coin. I'll get some close-ups of these so you can really get an idea as to what we're dealing with here. And even the hinge on the box. Have a listen to that. Very swish. So the Royal Mint sometimes struggle with their bullion coins. They have a lot of issues like milk spotting and things like that, but their proof coins are absolutely incredible. And this is a good example of the level of detail that they get onto their coins, and the finish on them is really, really impressive. And often with these coins that we're looking at today, one of the main hallmarks of a proof coin is the fields. So the section of the coin that doesn't have any design present on it has almost a mirror type finish. So if you catch it in the light, it almost changes appearance entirely. So when it's not in the light versus in the light, it changes significantly. So sometimes proof coins are really nice to photograph in that sense, because once you get them in the right light, they really pop and you get all of the detail on the coin. So yeah, I'm a big fan of proof coins in that sense as well. Okay, so that was the 5-ounce coin. Now let's go to a sovereign set. This is for the coronation of Charles III. Again, coronation set, and it was a 3 sovereign set. So let's have a look and you'll see what I mean by 3 sovereign set. All of these sets also have really nice informative booklets. Anyone that knows me knows that I like a little bit of extra information, and they do a good job of, sort of painting the picture of the significance of what's happening here. And there's just a lot of information. We've even got a reference to the original sovereign from 1817. So 1817 was the first modern sovereign, and that's when we saw the introduction of the iconic St. George and the Dragon design. For a little more information on that, I think I have done a video in the past on sovereigns where I talk about that in a little more detail. So worth checking out if you have an interest in sovereigns. But let's carry on. We've got some of the most modern sovereigns in here produced by the Royal Mint. So it's kind of nice in that sense that these are being produced by the same mint that did these old sovereigns. Again, the box. When you're spending a lot of money on something, and particularly something made of gold, I think it only makes sense that you want it in a presentation format that is fitting for the significance of the item. And this is a great example of that. So they did a total of 750 of these sets. This is set number 248. You have a 1 sovereign, a half sovereign, and then a little itty bitty quarter sovereign there. So obviously you have the iconic St. George and the Dragon design on the reverse of the coin. Flipping over to the obverse, this is where we have the crowned portrait of King Charles III. This was the first time in a very, very long time that we had seen a new monarch on the sovereign. So a set like this, obviously for sovereign collectors, often it doesn't matter what the design is. That, as a sovereign collector, you might just want all of them. But then there are collectors, and I think sometimes I fall into that category, where I like something that's a little unusual or something that has a point of difference. So in my florin collecting, I'm always looking out for the Melbourne Centenary florin, because that was one of the unique commemorative florins that we produced in Australia. So even with non-collectors, when a set like this comes out, you generally see a lot more activity in terms of people getting involved, because they appreciate the historical significance of, a fresh sovereign with a new monarch on it, which is a pretty big deal. Alrighty, so that is the 3 sovereign set. Let's take a detour over to a 1 ounce gold proof. Now, this was a coin that had a total mintage of only 500. So that's incredibly small when you consider, again, the magnitude of the occasion that it was celebrating. This is another coronation of King Charles III coin, and this 1 ounce gold coin was produced to commemorate the occasion, and is I think it's the same design as the 5 ounce silver coin that we looked at. So again, you've got the informative booklet with the date there, the 6th of May, 2023. And have a look at the box. I think a lot of people are going to laugh at me in the comments, because I seem more excited about the packaging than the coin itself. The coins themselves are wonderful, but I think when we're accustomed to some of the packaging from, the the silver coins from the Royal Australian Mint in the recycled packaging with tissue paper that rips as soon as you try to take the box out of the inner box out of the outer box. I think people can understand. Anyone that's bought one of the Royal Australian Mint coins with the tissue paper, you really appreciate nice packaging, and this is a great example of that. The box has a magnetic holder, so you can tilt the internal holder up and you can present it just like that. And that is the same design. Okay, now I have some clarifications to make. I'm just having a look at the little certificate of authenticity here. The total coin mintage is 685. There are 500 in this particular presentation style. So they may have done a fractional set or something like that, where they have a 1 ounce, a half, a quarter, and so on, or some other form of presentation for the coin. So the actual total is 685, but in this particular presentation style, it's only 500. And I'll just read the little information blurb here for you, just for a bit of fun. Since at least 1282, the coins struck by the Royal Mint have been independently and rigorously checked to determine their quality and fineness. This judicial ceremony was known as the Trial of the Picks and still takes place today, more than 700 years later. Every year, an independent jury, sworn in by the King's Remembrancer, ascertains whether the coins made by the Royal Mint are of the correct weight, diameter, and composition required by law. This means that you can be assured that the coin in your possession is of the highest quality. It is advisable to avoid handling the coin, as fingerprints will spoil its proof quality. Nice one. So there's also a bit of history there. So the Trial of the Picks, as mentioned there, is an event that still happens today. And I think the Royal Mint sell some of the coins that are used in the Trial of the Picks. So it's become a bit of a marketing opportunity for them as well. I quite like this design as well on these coins. So you've got the Royal coat of arms there. You've also got the crown at the top, as well as the royal cipher to the left there. So that's for King Charles III. And I might need a little bit of help. If anyone knows in the comments what this is symbolic of on the right hand side here, this icon here. I'm sure I could look into it, but I bet someone in the comments will be able to help me out with that. What does that mean? And then obviously flipping over to the obverse, once again we have the crowned portrait of Charles III. I quite like this setup. It's just as a side note, having the lower table here. We're filming in a new part of the shop. There aren't that many parts of the shops. It's sort of here or the other display cabinet that I normally film on. But let me know if this is better, worse, or the same. I guess the content is the same. It's still Matt chatting about coins, just having the time of my life here. But I kind of like this. I feel like I've got a little more flexibility, a little more room to move. All right, let's carry on. I'm getting distracted already. Okay, I'll save the best for last. it just worked out that way. We have the Queen Elizabeth Memorial Sovereign 4-coin gold set, and these are 4 sovereigns. And I love these kind of sets. I love sovereigns. We should probably start with that. Sovereigns are such an interesting coin, and it's such a nice blend of history and gold. 2 very interesting things, in my opinion. And I really like the modern proofs because they're struck to such a high standard and in such limited quantities. So there is the collectability component as well as an intrinsic value aspect of it as well. So sometimes when people are collecting, colored $2 coins and things like that, they can end up a little disenfranchised if they've paid a high price for something and it doesn't continue to increase in price. The benefit of things like gold sovereigns is that you have an intrinsic gold value regardless. So when you have an interesting subject matter like the memorial of Queen Elizabeth or the coronation of King Charles, there is the collectability aspect. So this is not any form of financial advice, but there is a potential for collectors to end up paying higher premiums for them because it is celebrating a unique occasion and there are fewer of them produced. But regardless of all of that, if it, for whatever reason, is not popular whatsoever, you still have some gold. So in that sense, you can't get too upset. I've never seen someone with a sovereign collection that isn't happy about it. But that might be just because they're like me and they love sovereigns. Again, we have the informative book here with some interesting examples of some of the older coins that were produced with Elizabeth on there. You've got an image of Charles there. And we even have a reference to the original sovereigns, which date all the way back to 1489 under the reign of Henry VII. And then a reference to the new portrait there, produced by designer Martin Jennings. So again, beautifully presented. We've got the 4 coins here. We actually have a double sovereign here. So you have a double sovereign, a single, a half, and a quarter. So it's interesting to see them all in different sizes there. And once again, I've said it before, I love anytime there is a unique design. And in this instance, we have it's very uncommon that the Royal Mint makes any alterations to the St. George and the Dragon design. Obviously, being around since 1817, it's become synonymous with the gold sovereign. So anytime we see a change in that, people like me can be a little critical at times, but I think this one, they've done a reasonable job with it. It's quite impressive. So this was produced by Jody Clark, and it was commissioned specifically as a tribute to Queen Elizabeth. So it has the royal arms there, with the Lion of England on the left and the Unicorn of Scotland on the right. And Jody Clark has really filled out the design here. So it's nice to see all space used. And I think when you get to the smaller coins, it gets a little busy, but that's why it's nice to have the full sovereign as well as the double sovereign there. You can really get the full design in there clear, and you can appreciate it without needing to use a magnifying glass to really get in there and appreciate the design. So in total, there were only 750 of these sets produced with the 4 sovereigns in there. And so in that sense, once again, it's quite unique. There are far fewer of them out there than you would normally expect when you're looking at the subject matter of the Queen's Memorial. There were obviously huge amounts of material produced, but when you're looking to the Royal Mint and something of this sort of magnitude, 750 I don't think was enough to meet the demand, because I think when these things like these first came out, I'm pretty sure it crashed the website. I could stand corrected, but I do remember that there was just an unbelievable amount of collector demand for all this type of material. And as a result, it's really nice to be able to have things like these in the shop. So I can't off the top of my head remember pricing. I'll put a link in the description. So if you're watching this video way down the track, I apologize, they're probably no longer available. But if this is the type of thing that is of interest to you, feel free to get in touch, and I can, if it's not up on the website, I can let you know if it's something that I have coming in the near future. But these will all be, in my opinion, very reasonably priced, in the sense that they're really hard to get your hands on now. If you want any of these, more often than not, you'll need to go over to the UK. The prices will be quite a bit higher, and you'll then need to deal with shipping and things like that. So I think off the top of my head, it's about 4,500 for the 4 sovereign set. It's just over 2,000 for the 3 sovereign set. It's just under 5,000 for the 1 ounce gold proof. and it's about $1,200, which I think was the original Australian issue price for the 5-ounce silver. So I really enjoy I think it's probably quite clear, I really enjoy the Royal Mint's proof range. They do a really good job, and they've obviously got some incredible designers over there, and there's a lot of history here as well. It was a pretty monumental occasion, you know, the changing of a monarch. It's something that for anyone in my sort of age range, we've literally never seen in our lifetime. So it's a pretty big deal, and to see that reflected on the sovereign, well, it ticks a few boxes for me, and I think it's really cool. Anyway, this is, you know, the first proof Royal Mint highlight I've ever done, I think. Anyway, let me know what your favourite is, you know. If you could pick one of these, which would you add to your collection and why? Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the new set, something a bit different. As always, we're here in the Boronia Mall, Shop 8, 50 Dorset Square in Boronia. We're open 10 till 4, Tuesday to Thursday, and we're also here on Saturdays from 10 till 3. If you enjoy the greatest hobby in the world, coin collecting, consider subscribing to the channel. Otherwise, drop in and visit us in store. We'd love to see ya. We also have a website, thompsonscoins.com. Like I mentioned, there'll be a link in the description for the new arrivals where these coins will all appear. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.